Welcome back to day 4 of our Lenten podcast together, where we're looking at a faith that lasts and 10 practices to help us build a faith even during hard times. I'm Rustin.
I'm Mike Basil.
I'm Tammy Gomez.
I'm Rustin Comer, if we need a last name. Welcome, everybody. We're glad you're here. Today is all about thirsting for God. This week is about worship. And what does it mean for us to thirst for God? This is a really meaningful story, I think, for our author, Michelle, because she had tongue cancer and mouth cancer. 3 times. And she's a public speaker, and it meant, radical change in her career, radical change in all kinds of things. And had to go without drinking water. And she tells that story, what it was like to not have water for 2 weeks. But then she kind of turns the text a little bit into the story of Jesus and the woman at the well, which is one of my favorite stories. It's also where we see a woman actually become one of the first apostles to Jesus and really converting her entire city to Jesus, which is really cool. But and there's this interchange, right, about the woman coming to the well that day, hoping to get water for her daily use, and Jesus asking for water, asking for some help, and then this kind of dialogue, this popping up between the two of them, where it kind of hits its precipice is this idea of, you come looking for physical water, I bring really a spiritual water that will nourish you in ways that you have no idea. And I wonder, are you thirsty? Are there places in your life where you sense a dryness between you and God? I think that's one of the things that Lent reminds us, is that sometimes we go a long period of time without connecting with God in worship or in life, and that thirst can actually develop in us. Do you remember a time in your lives where you kind of just felt thirsty for God in a different way?
I mean, I think for me, again, the idea is how often am I aware of my need for God, right? We live in a place, Walnut Creek, we have our houses, we have heat, we have water, we have, money to buy food for our kids, whatever, and sometimes I forget I need God, right? Because I am not praying for my next meal. I'm not praying for a roof over my head or shelter from, the cold or whatever. And I have to kind of almost force myself to thirst for God, if that makes sense, and kind of force myself to pause and to say, God, I do need you. I realize that all these things are a gift from you, right? Every good gift comes from the God above. And so
I think it's because we have these lesser wells, the things that we can drink from more readily. It's is it the Instagram likes that are making us feel good? Is it chocolate? Is it bourbon? What are we feeling? And that's where, even though not everyone likes the idea of giving up something for Lent as a practice, when you notice that absence, then there's a thirst, and it's oh, but I'm not actually thirsting for that. That's not filling my need. God is what I need.
That's good.
Yeah, I love that. Are you giving up chocolate or bourbon for Lent? Maybe not. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not.
I think giving up. I'd rather do something. And
yeah, no, I'm with you. But I think it's really important, right? Of the lesser wells idea, which she kind of hits at the end of the chapter, is, maybe it is a season where you look at one of the lesser wells that we go to satiate us, and say, you know what, I'm going to put that aside. And when I feel that thirst, I'm going to recognize a need for a thirst for God.
Yeah, turn it to God. And that's where I do think that practice of giving up is healthy. So maybe this week it will be the bourbon and the chocolate.
Well, that's 2 things I would recommend all that. I don't know that I would do both. So that leads us to our practice for this week. Are you thirsty? Do you feel that your soul has gone dry, cracked from circumstances that won't resolve and answers that won't come? Jesus is sitting by your well, just like he was the woman at the well, and offering himself to us. He offers to satisfy our cravings. So will you draw Jesus close? I think it's, again, as Tammy said, it's easy to look at the lesser wells. So maybe make a list in your journal this week of the lesser wells that promise water but leave you wanting. Name them, and then just offer that to Jesus. Jesus, hey, I recognize these. I recognize that my success and my job and my privilege make me not want to come to you as much. I want to acknowledge that to you. So have this space, and then ask Jesus to satisfy that deepest thirst in your life. It's a good practice to enter into what does it mean to worship God, because worship of God is really about the wanting. Like, do we want God? What does it mean for us to worship in that way? So thanks for joining us.